Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering Season 61 5 vs 5 Grand Arena Championship, Week 1. I am joined by most of the regular team here. We've got TJ, Sasha, Aisha, and Fatal here today. Dagger is on family vacation, so I think he's gone this episode, possibly next episode, and then he'll be back. I think that's about it. But gentlemen, it was a good first week for me. I went 2-1, met up with Arsenal again there in the final, and lost by a drop. Yeah, it happens. And good fight. Interestingly enough, I have him for round 1 of this week, so it should be fun. How about you, TJ? How'd it go?
Dude, 3-0, which already tells you that's wild. The 3-0s don't come from my side of the house. I'm usually a 2-1 Z Gunna guy, so it went really good, man. Everything was really solid. Game plan did what we were supposed to do. I don't know who said it, but somebody called it out. Maybe it was Fatal. It was either Fatal or Dagger talking about the damage from the teams. I'll talk about round 2, but yeah, it's I held down, but I am definitely feeling the burn of Data Crowns not having the power behind them. And what I thought would work definitely caught me off guard this week.
Okay, dig it. Sasha, Aisha, how about you? How'd the week go?
It was fine. There wasn't a lot of content to it. I got the least deserved 2-1 that somebody can get. I got run over by a Balin turn meter train using my Riva in my first match. Set a tone for what was going to be a messy match there that I lost on banners. And then I had 2 Erodiums, so I was kind of left just wallowing in that. But it looks like I'm starting off this next week with a legit match and hopefully get more than that. So that was my week.
And better still, your opponents don't have a lot of insight into what you're doing, this week.
They don't. Now, I don't necessarily have a lot of insight into what I want to do either.
You do have their history, though. Nobody had that last week.
I do. And the benefit of this upcoming conversation here with you guys. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Fatal, how did the week go?
2-1. I think I could make an easy argument that it should have been 3-0, but my SLK counter to GM ran into a hiccup, and so that match was just kind of dead before it ever began. But I held them to they posted 1670, a minus 1 in 50 banner line. So I feel pretty confident saying that's a lot of banner margin to probably win if I kill the Great Mothers team. But
fair.
Yeah, I didn't hold JMK, so I signed up for that, I guess.
Went for the maximum risk.
Plenty of decent defense results from 4 teams, but yeah.
Okay.
Better than just a complete efficiency fest, but
okay. Well, I'm sure we're going to get into a couple of those teams right now because it's time to talk about the meta matchups. First on deck is going to be talking about Ray Ezra. So I think, and I know TJ's probably going to have an alternative take here, but I think probably the strongest comp I've seen this week was something with GK and what's her name? Xeris on it. I've also seen Sortie L3. In either case, I was either able to EP Starkiller or Seer Malicos Starkiller. Whatever it was I was worried about. But what do you guys have to say about that matchup?
Yeah, my comp is left field enough. I don't think it's immediately relevant to this conversation, but I ran Starkiller with the mod swap with Mara, one other Starkiller. It's just as easy here in 5s as it is in 3s. That I continue to feel pretty strongly that I think Ray Ezra came out swinging and catches you if you're unprepared, but truly is not as bad as it sounds. Something that you actually kind of get your head around it.
Fair.
That was my view too, with limited experience with it. It's just, watching the content creators, seeing, what you guys did, Granted, it's maybe a little bit dependent, at least for that level of comfort for the mod swap on Star Killer. I think it just kind of begged the question: does Ezra need to even be there? Like, if it's going to be a walk in the park for an EPMJ Star Killer, is Ezra better purposed elsewhere? I mean, granted, that'll become a little clearer, maybe more compelling once Ahsoka's out. But even in the interim, if you've got a General Syndulla, are you better off with Ezra there, or door number 3, whatever that may be? So it looked comfortable enough, and maybe that can be deceiving, but looked comfortable enough in watching you guys and others do it that I wasn't so sure he belongs there anymore. Maybe I'm going too fast on that.
Well, no, I mean, we have General Syndulla here this week, and I mean, we'll definitely be talking about her. We don't have to jump to her just yet. Barring anybody else having anything to say about Rey. Either comps that you think are good on defense with her, or counters that you found interesting to her regardless. Because what I was saying with Seer or EP Star Killer, that was working against set 17 or 18, so nothing really caught me flat-footed Rey-wise this week.
Go ahead, Fatal. No, go ahead, Fatal.
No, I could say what Ray team I posted, but it's probably not a good idea to continue doing it. It got a hold in both rounds that I got seen, but you'll know why in just a second. Rey, Ezra, Ben, Commander Ahsoka Tano, and Plo Koon with the Plo Koon Bataclan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
High commitment.
that's gross.
High commitment. All right.
Yep.
Very. Some might say a
on
game-losing level of commitment.
Yeah,
and you still went, 2-1, so yeah, not bad. Not bad.
That is all. I mean, for where we're at, especially where you're still fighting, that's still a good one, Fatal. That you even give the ittiest bit of inkling of play on there, you're screwed. So I know exactly what you did.
I'm not backing that team at all.
No.
I'm disappointed, Fatal.
It's definitely a one and done type of situation. Yeah, that is great though. My Rey held well all week. I know I fought C-Note. The Rey caught him. Oh, no, the Rey didn't catch him because he used Balin. So that was easily done. Round 2, I put the Spectre people. And again, I don't think it's something else, but the Spectre team did well, in my opinion, in round 2 and round 3. One against Hipposaurus was round 2, and that held up. They weren't ready for it. They tried to do your stuff, Fatal. So if you look at my round 2, and he told me they didn't time out the Inspired, and that caught him. And so because of that, it was a bad time. That was a specific note. And then Mark messaged me and said they took actually, which surprised me because I figured it'd still be, they took Queen round 3 against the Hu Yang setup with the Spectre. And his words in the response, it was in-game, was that I was not prepared for how strong that team was going to be. And he got held pretty good. So the Rey did pretty well. But I also agree. Tash, you faced it and talked to me. And then I also got to face it thanks to C-Note against that Spectre team. And man, that team is just so awesome to face against because you have no idea about how strong it is. Also, it's easy to make a mistake and or time out if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. Just because you can't mass assist on Ezra. So I did that a couple of times, knowing that I was making it after, oh yeah, duh. Because there's so many new mechanics you have to catch in, right? Mm-hmm. But I took BKM, and that's why I recommended to you is BKM feels strong here because she can. But if you try to take a lesser team, that Spectre team is literally going to ramp over you. They're going to beat the hell out of you. And then you're not going to know where it's coming from because that fracture, the power of Sabine.
What's the comp you set, TJ? Can you go through the comp you had?
Mm-hmm. I literally just did Rey, Ben, and then I did the Spectre folks. I did Ezra, Hu Yang, and Sabine. That's it. I took some health still on my level 6 Ufu, right? Put some health still on it and called it a day because you have, nice thing enough, you have 3 Ufu on the team. So I'm like, yeah, this will be good. And since you're, in my opinion, and we talked about it before, your Sabine is basically glass cannon. It's a lot of damage. She doesn't have a lot to going for her to keep her up. So I'm like, well, let's just get rid of the ability, and pushing into the health felt good.
I feel like I feel like this largely probably just boils down to what you said they tried Star Killer and they failed.
They did Queen and failed. Mark did Queen, which was like surprising as hell to me that Queen got dropped. If you go to my round 3 first team, that's what shocked me, right? Because I'm like, you would think there's not a lot of durability to the team, in my opinion. Obviously, Ezra and everybody else, right? But the other two wouldn't feel like there'd be a lot of durability, minus the added protection or whatever you get from having Huyin on the team. But round 3, Queen got held out. So I was like kind of shocked that my team did it, because I didn't have a lot of stats on my Kron or anything else.
Am I crazy or blind or both? Because I'm not seeing.
Go back to
you're talking about your Ray.
Yeah, look at the first attack right there, and you'll see. I mean, that's crazy, dude. I mean, obviously, I guess you want to call it so bad luck, maybe that Pal got dropped. But Mark's response to me, which was kind of shocking to me, was like, I was not ready for how much power was on your team.
If it dies the Star Killer, though, I feel like that's more just a them issue that you shouldn't have done the Amidala button.
I'm just surprised at Amidala, because I did Amidala as well against another variation, and I literally just pummeled right through the team. It was just like nothing. It was like cutting through butter. And I would just think normally that Queen would just be the ultimate killer to a Ray fight, right? It's like I have issues with doing Seer Malikos. I've had things with Star Killer, but Queen just beats the hell out of it.
All right, fair enough. Well, I mean, we've more or less organically turned to talking about General Syndulla, so we can continue. I fought just the one team, and like TJ mentioned, he recommended BKM my way, and that ended up being high banners at the end. There was, I would say early in the fight, it feels a little, I don't know, only having done it once, but I'd say only after the first minute, it felt like I was firmly in command of the fight. And to Fatal's point, I don't know what I would use it for.
That's my point. Yeah. This feels like a Fatal team, because the team is new. So Fatal, you've called it out a lot of times. Create the puzzle, having all of the new mechanics on the Spectre team, and then also having Syndulla fracture somebody, and it's like they fracture BKM or whoever it's going to be. It's like, well, that's out for a minute. There actually is a good amount of damage. That puzzle feels really fun to play against.
Well, but here's the problem: is the things that you are hoping for are not what the team is capable of. Like the thing I keep coming back to. Well, literally, one single pre-taunt, and they just can't do anything. They're like, damn, you're dash cunning. I guess I just have to fracture you and throw all my mass assists on you.
Gotta throw in Chopper, man. Just gotta
Bo-Katan Mandalore is not a good team with good defensive mechanics. And let me guess, your pause Vista was just like, hey.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's why I took, like, my thing about the puzzle, though, right, isn't necessarily, I'm not disagreeing with you, is that if you took a lesser team, so I know Taz saw it, but if I took a lesser team or something else, it feels like you have the ability to just get stomped on. But
yeah, but this is the 5v5 issue is there's like 60 offense teams that the line and like falling under the line and not having enough relevant teams feels like a danger to me in 3v3. In 5v5, it's like, am I just hoping that they get bored and try something cheaper? That's actually like a pretty viable strat against me, because I do get bored and try cheap shit. But
that's where I think they catch you, is the fact that the level of what you have to draw is something strong. And since you can only play so many teams on defense, that feels like a good, solid suggestion to add. You can only add 11 teams, right? There's only so many viable defensive teams. But I will also say, and the one thing I told Tash, and I still agree with this, you can't set it without Ezra. If you're setting that team, it absolutely must have Ezra as a part of the 5th for now on there. If you try to let's do Zeb Chopper, that just feels like that's all I'm saying. I don't disagree with you. Yeah. We only have that's what I look at, right? It's like you only have 11 teams to place. Am I going to place this new mechanic team? And what I wholly agree with you on is I'm going to place something else you've never faced with new mechanics into it. And do you make mistakes that cause you to think? You create the puzzles. I think you're phenomenal at making these puzzles. That sits there instead of like, I'm going to place Finzori. because that's the 11th team. Like that's so solved. Where at least this new Spectre team is not yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth mentioning. So there's a weird thing happening here because it's worth mentioning that Hera does seem plug and play friendly. So, like for instance, if you're planning to take them to offense, I'd do like the whole strike team sequence thing of Chopper Dispel into Hera Fracture into dump all your damage. Like,
oh yeah.
On the offense game plan side of things, I think you actually have room to run like Grand Admiral Thrawn 5th so that you get a second Fracture to go for a second reset and round of snipe another key target and then reset their team again. So, like, I don't know, it's so fucking hard to wrap my head around because, like, I agree that, like, the only way the team is remotely respectable is if Ezra is there. And even then, I don't know if it's me respecting the squad. It's more so just that I respect Ezra. And from there, any team that has Ezra demands at least minimum. But then it's like, okay, well, if your problem is Dispel, what happens when you run some shit like B2? And all of a sudden you have like Ezra going over the top, B2 under, constantly checking you. That like I don't know what that looks like, good or bad.
Yeah, so you're just pulling the mechanic of exactly what you said was you have a problem with with taunting or tanking. Well, let's just take away your ability to tank and then let the team go to town. Because it's true. Tass, I think you saw it in yours, and I know I felt it with Sino in mine. Sabine feels like there's the power behind it to delete a character if she gets her swipe off. So it's like I could see what exactly what Fatal is saying, well, you have a pre-taunt. Well, now I've removed your ability to pre-taunt with B2 because you really don't. The 5th feels like that. What Fatal said. I'm putting Thrawn in there because now I have a permanent removal of your taunt, right? So Thrawn's going to fracture and then the team goes out of town. That's really what you need. Those four.
The weird thing in all of this is I don't think there's a plug and play you can do that works at their speed, right? Because Hera gives everyone in Zed 150.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, B2, if it was something like you're fighting against a team with counterattacks, so you could, like, Chopper turn 1, try to make them counterattack you to trigger B2 or something like that. But most of the time, it's not going to play out that way. So, like, you would really just have to do, like, a roster scroll if we're talking, like, okay, we're going to take this team extremely seriously. Look for defense options. No one immediately comes to mind as someone who can like operate at that plus 115.
I do agree with Tass on or at least with what you said too, Fatal. The Chopper on the 5th to do that with setup because obviously a lot of times Chopper is faster and then that ability to dispel feels like a good spot there. But I also agree with what you're saying that having that right setup. And obviously, the react apart from B2 feels like a good, like the old school rule, right? It's like, what are you going to throw in there? We'll just put B2 because he'll reactively catch up to you.
Well, Chopper only does Dispel first on offense. He does taunt first on defense. So legitimately, his defense only.
Yeah, I will say it extended my fight. So only thing I can call out when I did the fight for me, I was into the last minute when Sino had Chopper on there because that's what he had. He had Chopper as the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's move on to Balin here, guys. So, Inquisitorius was pretty clean here in 3 versus 3. In rounds 1 and 2, I want to say... So round 1, I managed to one-shot it, but I lost Reva. Pretty easy, pretty early in the fight. And then, let's see, round 2, I actually dropped and then cleaned it up with gas. Round 3, I switched to Slacker, and it was a 57. 57. So, it was rough going, and, I don't know how you guys dealt with it. Anything different? Anything new? By the way, I think the one observation is, I wonder how you feel about Hondo, and I wonder how you feel about Kira. I know Fatal has some opinions about Canderous, so love to hear everything.
I like that team. That's all I'm going to say about that. I want Fatal to go, but I really like that team.
Well, I jump in that I will say more as a recipient of the goodness of the Balin squad than somebody that was dishing it out. But yeah, the one match that I had, as I mentioned, that was actually Hondo and L3 that the opponent had, and I brought in Riva, not having seen any other matches on the week or anything, just sort of going in with that context, like you mentioned, Tass, the assumption that, hey, whatever goodness was there with the Riva counter in 3v3 should, carry me here in 5v5. I got blitzed down. I was very lucky to take out Hondo, I believe, in that battle. But I mean, whatever time it says that battle took, I'd say probably 2/3 of the time that it's saying was me just staring at the screen going, where the hell did my squad go? Because just very, very quickly, there's just a rapid sequence of events. And, maybe I caught a glimpse of the word resist a couple of times on my own squad. And they melted me very, very fast. So that was, it was only getting a death mark on Hondo that led me to like some kind of parting gift of being able to take him out with me. So I was impressed with that. I definitely think, and maybe this is certainly better, I think, for Fatal to pick up, but I'm very intrigued with Canderous on that squad. Just given Canderous's mechanics, debuffs applied, and the TM train off of Marok's unique there. But Canderous, God bless him, is finding himself in pretty high demand at the moment. I think there are a ton of other interesting issues, but that turn meter generation across a 5 squad was impressive.
Fair.
Yeah, there's a lot. Again, we talk about CG being sneaky. I see you have Canderous pulled up. I'm going to ask you to go to Canderous' stat sheet and look at his potency.
Yeah.
Do you like what you see
flat
there?
Goose egg. Flat 0 naturally.
Flat 0 naturally. And then part of the way Canderous was designed was his first unique was kind of built to ostensibly kind of pick up that slack, right? You get potency for each Mandalorian Old Republic and Scoundrel ally. This is not a land with those people for the most part. You get one other scoundrel, so this character's got like 20% base potency.
But usually, like when he's getting called or whenever he's doing something, this basic is hitting not less than twice, right? And the first time's putting down 10 down, and after that, you've kind of got some grace period.
Oh, who's calling him? Maul's not here for him.
That's fair. That is
but
fair.
like you look at his AOE. Okay, AoE offense down.
Mm-hmm.
And then his other passive, you apply damage over time with every move you do.
Mm-hmm. So
one single Canderous move at minimal god-awful base potency. And, CG's been printing teams with higher and higher base tenacity. CG's been printing more and more teams with tenacity up and shit.
True.
Canderous pushes a button, and that's just 100% TM to the team. And I think there's something to be said as well for a couple of ways that they hook into each other. So Hondo, it's a small thing, but increasingly in some of these teams that he rolls with, it matters more and more. Hondo has a turn meter piggyback, and it's capped, but it is still there that he is able to accelerate his own TM. I think it's like 8% per turn, as long as someone else gains turn meter. And then we enter the universe of Datacron synergy with, I think, the level 6. I'm pretty big on Datacrons overall, but I think Balin as a squad kind of represents, I think, one of the less ideal parts of the exclusive... not less ideal part of the exclusive Datacron system, but really just kind of highlights why it can be so frustrating. Is I think we might be in a meta where the level 6 is kind of toolbox right now, which means, the winds are shifting this way, let me reroll maybe one more towards Retribution or something, because every time you Retribute, like, easiest example, Balin taunts when he attacks out of turn. When he taunts, he applies AoE Doubt. that's another chance to get resisted to, if we're talking Inquisitors, like you mentioned Riva, okay, start a battle. Balin's pre-taunting, you have to do Torture on Balin. You give everyone AoE tenacity up, Balin counterattacks.
But you can't even do that off rip, right? Because you've got doubt on everybody at battle start. Because I'm usually, whenever I was doing it, I was opening up with the middle. And then some of them would have doubt right back, but others wouldn't. But I don't even think I would have had the couple that I had freed up from doubt had I not opened up with the middle. What do you think about that?
Well, I am currently on the Retribution level 6 Datacron, so I think if you open up middle, I think you're about to hold a bunch of training. Well, wait, can Red Inquisitor be counterattacked from the middle? CG's been sneaking and can't be countered as well.
Don't remember off the top of my head. Take a look.
It doesn't appear to have it. So yeah, you hit AoE, and then again, like, this is just one of those weird, like, teams where you're kind of incentivized to just, like, memorize all the little, like, debuffs that exist. Like, you have to look at all their basics and be like, okay, Shin Hadi. Yeah, deal physical damage to target immediate inflict crit chance down for 1 turn. If she has, Soldier of Fortune, which she will, crit chance down to all enemies. It's like, well, okay, that's 50% turn meter right there. Okay, let's go look at Merrick. Or is it Merrick just Purge or whatever? Yeah, like inflict Purge or inflict potential tenacity down. Well, tenacity down can't be resisted. But yeah, so like Balin counterattacking plus Shin counterattacking alone represents 100% turn meter for like a Retribution Cron. So maybe that hits matchups a specific way, but then at the same time, if we're talking about Candor synergy, one thing Grex in my Discord was really hyped on was the idea of comboing, like, let's say the attack out of turn bonus true damage that will proc Candorus unique, that you can get turn meter off of that. So that's another way to generate some reactivity. And Honda would also piggyback off of that as well.
Okay. So you're not really sold on the Kira thing. You think the big stretch here is with Candorus and Honda.
Kira wasn't top 3 for me even when Candorus was off of my radar. Like, if we're talking like that side of things, I'm way more on like Hondo type shenanigans.
Fair.
Or like,
did you not? So can I ask you, Fado? Because I watched you do the fight. The one I liked in there, I felt like DBB was great for the ramp. What he's getting. No, okay.
I think Dadbot Boba will be an incredible addition on offense.
Oh, I love him.
But like we went through the defense because his AI is fucking cooked. So like half the time it just defaults to D rockets, and then if somebody's low, it's gonna default to basic. That like, yeah, you never like if you're on offense and you're running Dadbud, yeah, you're just gonna fucking slam AoE, give me the fucking turn meter, and like you're set. But on defense, he just doesn't do the job. It's like if you're running Jedi Knight Cal Kestis on defense, and it's like, yeah, you'll get to execute eventually, but it's not doing the play pattern that I really want the character there for. That I feel like, unless you're really just in a position where like I want to try to high roll you, I do think Hondo brings enough early proactivity that like, is it as good as like a Han stun? Not exactly, but it's still enough that like, yeah, Hondo Candorus I think has some interesting duality off of each other right now.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not saying that for sure is the way to go, but I like if you look on Insight, it's like Inquisitors have not beaten Hondo Candorus Retribution at all. It's only like 5 battles. It's all sample size, but
so it has to be the Retribution level 6. Long text won't do it.
Again, I think it's always just going to be a medical. It's really just a question of what people are right, because like then all of a sudden you're like, well, what if SLK becomes the default? Well, Hux is there blocking turn meter. That maybe the consideration changes that you care more about the damage, or again, I think this is very much just like you shift your priorities.
Not worth re-rolling your level 6 on your Balin crown if you got it.
Well, that's the issue with exclusive crowns, is you can't just like go farm another. So,
Yep. Fair enough.
Cool system.
Yeah. And I know we've spoken on it before. The only thing that's a real gripe is just the random stats, just the random allotment of stats. That feels just extra casino crappy, cash grabby. But anyways, did we have any other comments we wanted to include on Balin? Okay, let's move on to best attack and defense of the week. TJ, you want to kick us off?
I mean, we already talked about it for me. Ray looks like it did very well. I think the other one I was looking at, and I know it caught me too, was Leia. I thought that was interesting. It was Leia round, I think 2. Yeah, it was Leia round 2. So remember when we talked about it, Task, for when we were going through the stuff, and I'm like, all right, so I did the K2. So it's like this right here. Obviously, we did back to the tank revive. Took the K2 for the setup on removing turn meter. So we're trying to play with the fight. And then my level 6 is the damage reduction. So the team starts. What I find interesting is Mom Mothma is cool. So obviously that's one of them, and that's being held, but also the Inquisitors being held out. And that's not against nothing. So it's like, that was a pretty cool. So seeing that work out, because I know I faced it, and I thought that was interesting, because we talked about the damage. But seeing that Mon Mothma and Inquisitors got held out pretty well against Leia was pretty nice. Favorite attack, I'm still having fun with it, dude. The Gideon on the Jabba has been my favorite. Obviously, Night Trooper makes that like it's a nothing, but it's just so much fun getting in there, and it's like a 30-second fight, and then you just go over the top of them and you're out.
I got a question for you then. On that counter of DTMG versus Jabba bringing Night Trooper, is there anything you could see on that Jabba squad in terms of either characters included, datacron, stats, mechanics, anything that would give you pause?
On Night Trooper, no. And it's I'll tell you why I think Night Trooper is such a big variation over, let's say you're doing, was it Enoch? And I know I took the Enoch on the round 3. His added ability to give the extra buffs and the alert, and then what it does, it just, for whatever reason, I would say Fatal is probably the dude I would go to for each individual mechanic. But for like button mashing, ease and simplicity, there is not one concept or construct that you would give me that I wouldn't just take Night Trooper and call it a day for a 64-65.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I did it once successfully without Night Trooper, and then I failed once with Night Trooper, and I learned the hard way why. Jabba seemed to have a preference for using his third ability on Moff Gideon. So giving him buff immunity, making him unable to stack buffs and get, those sequential turns to do his massive damage. So there were points where the allies under Jabba were able to stabilize and heal up some before we were able to get back and do some more massive damage spam. But then guess what? Jabba looked to throw that third right on Moff Gideon again. So I ended up finishing the fight with Jabba alive with a sliver of red health for want of having Night Trooper's AoE damage. It's really that. It's pretty much just that. The AoE damage combined with what Moff Gideon does ends the fight soon enough such that you're never thinking about Jabba getting to his first ultimate, which is a very real possibility without Night Trooper. So, hope that helps.
Yeah.
I guess the stun can mess with you or whatever. It's going to be like the mercenary setup or something along those lines with the bulk. I think Tass had bad luck in this fight personally, because I went and did the Enoch fight as well. And then I would be the one to say, well, like, no, it was fine, the Enoch. But I just know when you put Night Trooper over Enoch in that team, to me, it's just irrelevant. I would agree. The AoE is nice to have, because that is true. You get the added benefit of another AoE on the team. So Tass isn't wrong there. But just the way the team moves, you're going to finish the fight easily, minute to a minute and a half sooner with Night Trooper on there. But doing that, to me, really lessens your, as you heard Fatal talk about, really lessens your mother's team. So in my opinion, that's where it gets to be a tough call.
I agree. It is a significant loss from Great Mothers. Yeah.
Because
I think it makes it pretty simple for a slacker if they're otherwise set up for it.
to me, it's non-contestable. I think we've all learned, especially at the tip of the spear, right? Video, so us with them and everything like that. The super fast Night Trooper brothers really differentiate a fight that you just can't do a slacker. And I think that was evident. If you go to you can literally watch my round 1 and my round 3. I watched anybody else. Round 1, I didn't have Night Trooper run. My stuff is spec correctly so that you don't just get it. It's going to get in between the next move when you fight with your slacker. It's definitely going to get in between, and you're probably going to lose. Round 1 didn't have that Night Trooper there. My mother didn't help. Round 2, round 3, I put Night Trooper in. Both times hold religiously. It just you don't get to play slacker games unless you really spec it out and alter your setup.
Fair. All right, Sasha, how about you? Your favorite attack and defense of the week?
Sure. So for attack, as I mentioned, the match kind of went south pretty early. I was playing Brilliant Zed, our friend, who's joined us on the show, and I, excuse me, gave me a chance to get a little creative on the back wall. He set a really strong back wall with 3 GLs, and one of the comps was C, Treya, Savage, Nihilus, and Talon. And one thing that I'd seen in GAC history that I was really curious to try was a nice opportunity to use the zombie cron. And I took just the Talzin, Asajj, Zombie, Daka, Marin, and I think that's doable as a one shot. In fact, like I know it has been done. I think it was Rockstar that did it.
Wow,
But
nice.
that was it was a fun battle. Running through it, I ran out of time. It's not easy to get through. As you'll take a look at the cron that he set, and it's high health with 15%
Oh
bulk
my
on level
God,
3. So
88%
these are
health, and then a bulk 3 besides.
right. I mean, the good and the bad, I guess. The good is when you're doing percent health damage to everybody that's not a GL on that squad, they are melting quickly because that's a lot of health. But when it comes to Sith Eternal, that was a slog. He had an awful lot left, but it was a fun attack. It's no 3-man one shot against Jabba, but it is still like just nice to get a use out of what I think, like at least in my gameplay, is like a really like latently powerful zombie datacron. I just have not been using that to the impact that potential it's got. So that was my attack. That was fun.
Mhm.
On defense, don't know that I had a lot of cool stuff to choose from. I'll call out just one thing I did. It touches on the earlier conversation we had, where I made the decision that I was going to keep Ezra with Ray. So I did that back wall, but I had General Syndulla going into it, and I was basically just preying on uncertainty. And I'm like, I threw it out a Spectre squad with Zeb in it. Just hey, there's no data. You figure out, self calibrate, and see what you're going to do. And if nothing else, at least it drew Moff Gideon. But that was my thinking on it, to throw it out there. And hats off to Zed. Like it's not in overspend on it, and didn't miss having DTMG. But that was at least one defense that I hadn't set before. So
All right, yeah, that's a good one. All right, Fatal, how about you? Your favorite attack and defense of the week?
Yeah.
I don't know that I really have anything offensively that I haven't already kind of mentioned, right? Like Battle 1, Match 1 was fighting against the Ray Specters and making them look like
Like
not a
punks,
good team.
and they were running
Sounds like
set
this.
18, kind of mediocre stat spread, UFU level, long text level 6. So okay,
They can put whatever they want there.
yeah,
Starkiller is still going to stop any of them from ever taking a turn. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I understand that people don't want to mod swap for GAC or whatever, but if you can find it within yourself to put Mara one speed under Star Killer. It clowns the team in the biggest way possible because everything just boils down to that first foresight. So you Star Killer AoE, the foresight's gone. That is just a Ray team now, and you're just running the core counter that's been, her main predator for 3 or 4 years.
The other thing you said, I just wanted to ask real quick, Fatal. You said two things though. It was the one speed, but also you said accuracy arrow.
The accuracy arrow is just like if you're feeling fruity, you can go for a
Okay.
stun on Ezra just to shut down all value on his dodge shit. It's not like hard required. You're still playing the video game regardless. You're just if you feel like going for stun open on Ezra, you get to do that. It's just value.
Okay. All right. And your favorite defense?
It's all just kind of like Amidala got holds against Bane for having Crit Avoid, sure. Balin got holds against a variety of stuff. Actually, I guess that one funny one is like round 2 Amidala held against JMK. It was like kind of funny.
Wow, after holding against Bane first. So yeah. Doom and gloom.
I'm not sure what happened. Like I know that 3PO's reactive shielding is kind of doing a pretty decent amount of work here, I'd imagine, and like stalling them and slowing them down.
So
But yeah, it looks like they just timed out.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, here's what I laugh at when I look at this. This is exactly what Fatal said. This is the team. This is the stuff. So I just laugh at it. If you've watched, so it's funny to see that you basically gave the precedent, Fatal, what you were going to set before when we talked about this team. That's the exact team you talked about.
I was joking. So I was making jokes at the start of the season that this is the first season that Amidala came out because in the last 2 5v5 seasons, there was always like support Kron, Sortie Kron, or a set 15 Datacron Bane were just predators out there to completely destroy her. This is the first season where those teams have kind of mellowed out a bit, that it's like a more closely even fight. That it like all of the work that I did back then is actually like kind of relevant for the first time now that it's like, because also it was like, okay, there's Power Kron. Okay, there's support Kron. Okay, it's all gone. Now all that matters is the team mechanics. And all I did was the theory graph for the team mechanics. So now that mechanics are all that matters, it's like, hey, yeah, this seems pretty good.
It's just, but it's funny. You gave precedent. You basically Nostradamus what you were going to do and why you were going to do it. So if you've watched any of the other episodes, this is the exact comp. And he gave, I would say, Fatal, you gave pretty extensive reasoning as to your logic behind each character on the team.
Yeah, it all synergizes quite well. That like, I mean, to be honest, there were parts this week where I was like, do I really like C3PO? I might be able to do something interesting with him elsewhere. But I feel like if C3PO wasn't on the squad, that JMK fight doesn't. That JMK fight would be green probably. That reactive kind of Barris-esque shielding is something I need to continue to appreciate.
Fair. Okay. For my part, my favorite defense I want to comment on first. Well, no, I guess my favorite attack. Because I learned using Bane twice against Leia this week that Bane versus Leia isn't that great right now. I did it with a set 17 with high defense. I did it with a set 18 with high health. And bulk. Level 3. And still, no dice. So, not a big fan of that. Lesson learned there. As far as attacks go, though, the one that really jumped out at me was, I'd seen opponents in my past use Finzori against my Savage lead or my Treya lead team on defense. And I came up against one. Took in Seer Malicos, which I guess is another good lesson. Seer Malicos versus Savage Treya, and I don't know if it'd be too much different against Treya lead, but the issue I had was without Maul in there to, I don't know, help end Savage so much quicker from the assists out of Malicos. I had nowhere near enough damage to kill anybody on that team, so I had to withdraw. Went back in with Finzori. It was kind of a Hail Mary, but I kind of just played it the best I could muddy my way through, and it would have been a 64 or 65 had it been the first attempt. So very impressed with that. I'm usually not the Finn on offense guy. But I had a lot of fun with that. All right, any other comments here, guys? Because if not, we're going to pivot to takeaways and final thoughts. TJ, how about you kick us off? What are your lessons learned from week 1? What are you going to be trying out? What's your final thought for the people? He said, talking to himself. TJ.
Of course, I'm muted.
Yep.
I wanted to go back to exactly what I said in the beginning for good reason. Fatal, I don't know if it was you or if it was Dagger, but I think I felt it this week. Things that worked aren't working as great because there's not a lot of damage in the crons. So there's bulk and there's defense aligned right now. So a lot of the heat that you had before doesn't feel as relevant. And so things that would work commonplace before, because we had these high impact crons, are now, like you said with Leia, right? I felt the pain on Leia because I took my queen team and they had Han Chewie on it and did not work. There was just not enough gumption. So stuff is not feeling the same right now. Okay. The bulk feels there and relevant. So the takeaway for me is trying to alter, knowing that I just, in general, on some of my key teams, feel a little bit weaker than I did before. So it just takes the alteration to that. That's where I think is the big thing, and where you can play with your defense, adding some of the tricks that I saw Fatal did with this, and then adding some of the other pieces, things that always worked, and the whole quotations don't get to play the same game right now.
Very fair. All right. Appreciate that. Sasha Aisha, how about you? Your lessons learned. What are you doing next week? Final thought for the people.
Yeah, it's more just sort of a general observation. It comes from a pretty positive place because I like this when I see it in the game. Is that it? While we talked about this, it's a little harder for certain GLs to have viable defensive comps. I think it's pretty cool to see that there is right now like a decent amount of non-GL defensively viable squads that you can either run out of appropriate counters for or just find yourself in a really messy spot against. So I'm just pleased with that sort of from a state of the game perspective. Like, we talked about, Balin comps and some of the creative stuff that can be done there. The spike in viability of Queen Amidala. I mean, maybe it's just because, the Predator list has been pared back with changes in Datacron sets and stuff. But
sure.
So that I'm pleased with that. I think that actually allows for some kind of cool creativity. And so when I look going forward to next week, and I haven't done any of my planning. But I guess what I will add is going into the next week and kind of looking forward, like stuff that we did off of last week. What I did just before lock was make some additional relic investments in that Spectre combo. Not because I expect much out of General Syndulla's lead in this week's fives, but because I'm pretty confident that I took Ezra and Padawan Sabine both to R9, really just because I was pretty confident that they were going to be investments I'd be making down the line, and I had a kind of a storage of R9 stuff. So it's, I guess, kind of translates into a little bit of prep for the arrival of GL Ahsoka. But yeah, that's where I was coming from.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'm curious about other people's remods. I guess we didn't really speak on that. I mean, I didn't really remod so much as I was just calibrating and got some good speed and offense slices this week. I did fix up a couple of my Datacrons. I had, a couple crons that I wish I had bulk on level 3 that didn't have it, so I got that fixed. Rerolled some dud stats on, set 18 crons that I'm using with Lord Vader, with Maul, with I don't know, any of the set 18s, really. I tried to improve the stats on those. But yeah, that's good point. Good reminder. All right, Fatal. How about you? Your lessons learned from week 1. What you're looking forward to trying. Your final thoughts for the people.
Yeah, I mean, a decent amount of my Browns were goofy enough, posting unserious Ray comps and taking unserious battles. I think the two things that I do kind of take seriously are I feel pretty decently solid about Leia Pow as like seems to continue to be an interesting extra little bit of texture for Leia that her health based stuff does double damage, her squad's immune to heal immunity that, squads like Inquisitors kind of take for granted in that matchup sometimes. Not that they can't like dispel second wind the other ways, but again, just little extra wrinkles that like you got the double bulk that you compare with like a good defense Kron to just like push that team's resilience up a lot. That got some good defense results for me, and then just kind of. I mean, the only real mod swap that I did for this week was, the Candors that got a bunch of holds once I put it in round 2 and 3 was like not even modded for last week. It was literally just like random mod locker, like level 12 mods. This time I gave him super speed and triple defense sets with bulk. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious on if I overinvest this character, which I think you can pretty easily argue. Candors get so much Terminator, you really don't need to build him for speed.
Sure.
But I'm just kind of testing the water of like, but if I do build him for speed, he still can get like, he needs less help to reach crazy effective speed. So like maybe he hits in a few extra spots where normally he might not, type situation.
Fair.
I don't know, just speculative stuff. And then I modded the Spectre squad. I have them ready to go. They're at like 430 effective speed, like all Terminator sequenced out. I really don't think I'm going to post them on defense, though. I don't know what I'm going to do with them.
Fair.
But yeah, maybe snipe a C team or two with them.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking I might set it down. Probably not against Arsenal, though, here in round 1, because he himself had it in week 1, so I imagine he has some ideas about how he what he'd do with it himself, but my gut would be to kind of throw it down and just see what it can do. I take your point, though. It has some glaring weaknesses, and I'll have this opportunity to get some data there. But before I go ahead and sign us off as the only other content creator on our podcast here, Fatal, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, twitch.tv/PlaybookTV, specifically before the next time that we talk. I'm pretty sure Ahsoka will be releasing. And so I'll be there live at Unlock, and I should be properly hoarded, but I think I also get day 1, hopefully hour 1 ultimate.
Wow. Amazing.
Well, they made it very fucking easy now. It almost means nothing. Just be lazy about collecting your ally points into bronze games for a while, and then see a CG announcement. And all of a sudden, you're just extremely prepared. It's wonderful.
And you're just converting that all to Shard Shop right now.
Yeah, the Shard Shop is refreshable now and has GL tokens, so you can just, refresh however many times you need during launch day.
That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. No need for. I mean, I did energy hoard, but like not nearly enough for ultimate.
Yeah.
But with their powers combined, it's never been easier.
That is true, and I appreciate that as well, because I'm not really a big fan of hoarding energy and just letting it go, a certain amount go to waste every day, a couple hundred, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time that I've done it, and like
same a little.
My account is, my account is in a state where I can get away with it. Like I'm good on Kairos and character shards and all that, but it's still, I don't know, man. I would almost rather just like not once we get past this release, don't worry about hoarding energy and don't even worry about hoarding Shard Shop. I might just like bank ally points for an entire year and then just like cash all that shit out when it's GL time.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You would have an enormous amount. And then you're just going to use hot utils to cash all those.
Yeah, I mean, that's been like I had like 400k ally points sitting ready to go.
Right.
And then I had utils them in and it was like 40,000 Shard Shop currency. I was like, oh, I'm just set.
Sold.
That's like 800 GL tokens right there.
Sold. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, everybody go check out Fatal this week when he covers, the live release of Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. But yeah, for my part, if you're used to catching me live, you are already knowing that you would find me at twitch.tv/Tassinix. Of course, the Plotting and Scheming podcast here is on Spotify, rebroadcast out to Google Podcasts. The link that's in every one of the episodes here can be plugged into your preferred podcasting platform, and you can follow us that way. And of course, it is rebroadcasted over to my YouTube, Tassinix Gaming, where I do have some other great Swugger-related content that I think you'll be interested in, such as my Datacron guides on sets 17 and 18 that I make with Aesop Rock, my mod guide videos on particular characters and factions that you have requested. I made a recent video on GAC Omicron, rankings in a tier list just last month. That's up there. And of course, all of my previous streams uploaded with chapters for easy browsing. Let's see, what else? If you've enjoyed the show and you want to support what I'm doing here and what the team here is doing here, I do have a Cash App. It is $Tassinix. And, I made that at your request. You guys bugged me about it for a while, so I did make it. And, of course, if you want to get something back and help raise your scouting game and, just be part of an amazing, focused, GAC-focused community, you got to check out my Patreon. Check out patreon.com/Tassinix. For any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player, there is something there of interest for you. At $5 a month, you enter the TAS House at VIP Access, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is coming out usually on Fridays. My patrons are getting it Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, depending on how the video upload is in terms of being cooperative with YouTube. But in addition, you also get early access to the Datacron set videos and a dedicated text and voice chat on Discord, where you can usually find me lurking, so pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Arj, Deadpool Kyle 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Miasmal, Mus Ross, Raised Malbus, Sam Vimes, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens14, White Wolf, and Zoltre. Moving on up to the $10 a month tier, VIP Access Plus. This is where you get a bundled patron access to me and to OmegaBot. So if you watch my streams at the start, I always have that report on my opponent. It gives me a powerful at-a-glance sense of what they're about on offense and defense. With the patron benefit, you can pull greater than just the last 2 weeks of history and get a downloadable HTML report with links that tie you right back into Swugga.gg or Insight. Really helps save your time on the Scout. Thank you so much to Stryker, Esh Sotnikam, and Dobby. At VIP Access Premium, that's $15 a month for the Double Bot bundle. So patron access to me, to OmegaBot, and to Hot Utils, the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout creation. You can use it to easily remod your entire roster for Grand Arena, TW, TB, Raid within seconds. You can slice through and level up and sell off mods in a fraction of the time. You can remod your roster for Grand Arena like, Fatal and TJ do. That's fun. And of course, there's other functions that support your guild and whatnot. But thank you so much to Duckstab, Dark Hug, Ivanek, General Milan, Sir Boss, Quig, Wilco, and Frick Frack Paddywhack. At the top of the heap, Injusters Club Elite, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper. This guy pops into stream from time to time and drops hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies, incredible generosity over the years. Appreciate it so much, man. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First to Yoda Force, one of my original supporters from way back in the day, and he bought me this mic that I'm speaking to you on right now. Though he has long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all of your work in the background, mostly keeping our daughter from destroying our home, while I am trying to be involved in trying to win a phone game. So thank you so much. Last, but never least, to my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure and a privilege to record this show with you every week. We learn from each other. Our viewers learn from us. Lots of questions, lots of engagement around the show. And to boot, this week's episode is even watchable because my mic is on. So thank you all, and my microphone, for being part of this successful recipe. Wouldn't change a thing. All right. And coming back over, so we've survived week 1. We've got data to look at. This was the grand entrance of set 18 into 5 versus 5. So hopefully we're all a little wiser, can tighten up our defenses, because usually week 1, you're most of us that are winning on banners at least are maybe being a bit more conservative with what we keep for offense, just to make sure that we don't get unexpectedly caught out. Now there's opportunity and time to take some more risk. And I'm looking forward to that here for week 2. But until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.